Welcome to ITL Voices. My name is General Counsel and I'm your host for the day. I'm a director with the ITL network and I'm very excited to bring you the first edition and the first episode of the ITL Voices web series. I will be introducing you to our guest very shortly. However, prior to that, let's talk about why we are here. The ITL Voices aims to shine the spotlight on stories of internationally trained lawyers and globally minded lawyers. The goal of these sessions is to amplify the voices of many members in the legal community, make information available to our lawyers, students, people coming from diverse backgrounds, and to create an avenue for ITLs to learn and interact with the members in the legal community. We have Anjana Bhaskaran joining in from Toronto for our first web session of the ITL Voices. Hi, Anjana, how are you doing today?
Hey, Aishwarya, I'm doing well. Thanks for asking me to join you guys. I'm happy to be here.
So, a little bit about her. She is one of the directors with ITL Networks, and she heads the team of events. And she is a general counsel at Box of Crayons and a licensed lawyer in 2 jurisdictions, one of which is Canada and India. Thank you, Anjana, once again for joining us. Can you please tell a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I graduated from law school sometime in 2008, and then I moved on to do my master's in India. I started my career working with one of the big fours in India, which is Deloitte. I was working with them in their tax team, and I was basically helping the US sales and use tax team with legal research work. I moved on to work with a few IT or tech companies back home, which is Polaris, which is now Virtusa, and then I moved into Cognizant, which is headquartered in the US. So my in-house experience started right there, and my contract work and knowledge sort of grew multifold in these 2 companies. After Cognizant, I moved on to a law firm, tier 1 law firm in India, which is J. Sagar Associates. And that's where, that was a pretty short stint, but that's where I started off as an associate in a law firm, learning to manage clients, learning to work on transactions, and learning about RBI regulations and whatever it entails to finish a financial transaction. This is sort of the length and breadth of my experience in India. I think once I decided to move to Canada, I just somehow was fixated in becoming a lawyer. And that's what you do, right? After being lawyer for 10 years, you sort of hold on to it and do not want to let go of it. So I got into the licensing process, got myself a job, and then finished it in a year and a half. And here I am doing a little bit of legal work in Canada.
That's wonderful. I just wanted to understand, how has your experience been different in each of the legal environment where you have worked?
I would like to talk more from my team's perspective, my work's perspective, rather than the company's perspective, only because I was lucky enough to have good managers all across my career. I've always had good amount of learning. When I was in Deloitte, I sort of loved the culture there, how they took care of their employees, and how there was always somebody to answer your questions. When you are starting your career, I think that's pretty important. And that's what I loved about Deloitte. And then when I got into tech companies like Polaris and Cognizant, I think the experience of other senior lawyers in the team really made a lot of difference for me, because their doors were always open. I can just knock and ask questions, understand the difference between basic contractual concepts, which nobody teaches you in a law school, right? You will learn about indemnities, but you will never know how to apply an indemnity in a contract. And that kind of support that your senior lawyers give you is critical for you to develop your knowledge and call yourself a specialist in that field, right? I think this is what really mattered in my career for me. I was lucky to have good senior lawyers, and that's the experience I would like to share. That's what made the difference in my career.
That's wonderful to hear. So, what made you actually shift to Canada then? Like, if you were having a full-fledged career back at home in your home country, so and how was the transitioning process entirely?
Um, that's a question that I'm being asked by a lot of people here in Canada. Like, why choose Canada when you have a very good career back home, right?
Yeah.
This was purely for personal reasons that I moved to Canada. Um, my husband and I always wanted to explore new cultures, new countries, and it's one life that we all get, and we wanted to make the most use of it. So we started our PR process sometime in 2017, and then it just naturally flew into our our a regular life, right? And I was not even planning to get into the licensing process until the PR until my PR application got through. But somehow, like, all of this happened in a span of 2 weeks for me. I got my PR, and then I applied for my GPLLM at University of Toronto in the last leg, and then I just got through it. So I had to pack up in 2 weeks and come. So sometimes people say that when it rains, it just pours, right?
Yeah.
That's what happened in my life. And I don't want to say that there's a reason for me to come to Canada. We look at it as an experience, and that's why we moved.
So, how was your experience at the University of Toronto pursuing GPLLM, which is um, ideally for people who want to complete and suffice for NCA requirements? So, how
Um,
was that?
that's a great question, Aishwarya. I think I still hold that 1 year of the GPLLM at University of Toronto very close to my heart, only because that was my first year, and the support that the university gave for lawyers for internationally trained lawyers was pretty good, right? And I was able to complete all of my NCA papers through that course, and it sort of helped me with networking, with knowing the country, with knowing like feeling like a localite, and completing my NCA papers. So it was like all-in-one resource for me, and I'm just glad that I got through the GPLLM, and I still keep in touch with a few people that are really friendly and really help me with answering some questions. There are some immigration lawyers that help some of my friends that try to come to Canada. So there's a network that is created, right, through some of through local education. And I feel like education is one thing that comes a long way. So having to be sitting in a classroom is a different feeling altogether, and that experience was something that I wanted to get in Canada.
I can totally resonate with that because, as you know, I also pursue a similar path that you had. Like, it was just a different school.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I can totally agree with you. So, my next question actually relates to that. People do not always pursue an LLM while moving to Canada or any other particular jurisdiction. So, why do you think like it is important to either do a master's, or if that was your just a personal reason
Mhm.
to pursue masters and suffice your NCA requirements through that particular LLM, or um, was it a different thought process entirely?
Um, the primary reason, of course, was to complete my NCA papers, but the overarching reason to do an LLM was to feel like a local person in the first place, right? Was to get integrated into the system, was to understand how people here think, was to sit in a classroom and study the law in a non-judgmental way. I feel like education and the way of teaching is totally different in different jurisdictions, and I wanted to have that experience here. And I understand, in case people do not want to choose to do their LLM, I really understand that they have their several reasons for not doing it, and everyone's journey, everyone's life is completely different, right? um, I feel grateful for having done the LLM. I feel grateful that I was able to get through and have the resources to complete it, which has helped me a lot.
We can have this or another web session, because it's going to intrigue a lot of other viewers, people who want to actually pursue LLM. So, talking about your experience after LLM, how did you crack your contract manager's job and eventually become a general counsel for such an esteemed company?
I think I have to thank the company that I work with. My company is Box of Crayons. They are a Toronto-based learning and development company, and their culture is something that sort of surprises me every single day. I it just takes that one single person to read your resume, right? And I was lucky enough that somebody opened my resume, read through it, and found a fit for their requirement. Since most of my experience was in contract drafting, review, and negotiation, although in the tech space, learning and development is basically services and sort of service contracts. And the manager that hired me saw value in my experience back home, which is I don't want to say it's difficult, but it's a little rare that somebody mirrors an experience from India and places it into their requirements. But I just was lucky. I in fact got my contracts manager job while I was at U of T, while I was doing my GPLLM. So, and they were very accommodative about my exams, my classes, and I got like 4 weeks of vacation for preparing for my bar exam. So I think you need that kind of a support when you are in a country that requires you to do a lot in terms of the licensing process. So that made a lot of difference, right? And there has to be an unbiased hiring manager to see that this person can do the job effectively. I also feel like there's a lot of clouding around people coming from a different country in terms of their communication, in terms of how they present themselves. And it's just one person has to give you that chance for you to prove yourself. And that I was lucky enough to have that one person give me that chance.
Yes, we all need that luck. So, definitely. Moving on. So, since you spoke a little about your hurdles in the transitioning process, what made you achieve those goals and during facing so many challenges and hurdles in a new different country?
It was challenging to move forward every single day, but my expectation was very low out of the system. I was very scared of the weather. I was very scared of being judged. I was you always come with a set of fears when you move countries, right? Like everybody has their own pet peeves, and that's what I came with. But what made me move forward is I think I did not expect much out of the whole process. Even when I took my bar exams, I was pretty clear that I will clear one and then move on to the other the second time. So I think I was willing to roll up my sleeves and start from the beginning, and that made a lot of difference from my perspective. I know it's a long winding process, it's intimidating. You see a lot of other native English speakers which are, and you don't speak that way, right? There's definitely a different way in which you talk, and you sort of lose the confidence that you've built up in your career back home. it's all in our head. And I think nobody thinks we are not capable of doing something. It's just our fears that sort of clouds and makes us feel intimidated. And I feel like having some introspection and setting the expectations very low really helps you. And I was willing to put myself out there. I think that made a lot of difference. I was not saying that I will not take a contracts manager role, because I was a lawyer in India and I have 10 years of experience, but I was willing to start having to give a head start for my Canadian experience. I sort of networked through LinkedIn, and I spoke to a couple of lawyers who really gave me very good tips. And when you ask, people really help you here. And that was very very good. That was a very good feeling for me. Sometimes we don't move forward because we don't ask for help, and I think we should ask, and that made a lot of difference. That's what kept me going. The community was really friendly with me.
And I've been in the same shoes as you, and I guess people here are very friendly, and if you do approach them, they are definitely willing to help you. So yeah, moving on. Can you just quickly run through the NCA process?
So I think the NCA process was, I think there are 3 steps. Start with NCA exams, and then move to your articling, and then move to bar exams. Or you can do that. You can overlap the last 2, and then you're a lawyer in Canada, right? So my personal experience is the most difficult part is the articling part. I think NCA exams, self-study. I have seen people who've done self-study, who've succeeded in NCA exams. I've done people doing NCA exams through LLM, and they've also succeeded well. So you can choose either of the paths. The articling is a little difficult because traditional law firms and traditional law schools have sort of a whole program going on where they start with summer student and then articling, and then they move into the same law firm as an associate. So just cracking that window is a little difficult, I feel. But I think the scene has changed a lot in the last 2 years. There's a lot of opportunities, a lot of lobbying, and there's a lot of networks like such as ITL network that's helping people find the right articling position. I did not do my articling. I got a full exemption from Law Society of Ontario because I really wanted to stick to in-house work. And I wanted to, not that articling is not important. I feel like articling is, I feel like I missed out on articling sometimes, because you will know a little bit more about Canadian work. You will understand it quicker. You will be able to do it quicker than someone who's got a full exemption. But I just chose a different path for myself for whatever reasons that worked for me. But I think there are very good mid-sized and small-sized law firms that go unnoticed, and just knocking their doors will definitely help. For ITLs to find articling, basically.
But a lot of students and a lot of ITLs are not aware that those are just restricted positions, and those are just limited to like 50 law firms or probably 60 law firms. But there is such a huge market out there.
Yes.
Yeah. So we need to crack that too.
Yeah, and I also feel like when you put yourself out there, you can say that you will work as a legal assistant. You can offer to work as someone who does the paperwork in the background, as a paralegal. Like, there are so many transferable and soft skills that we come with that can be used for these roles. So when you attach yourself with a lawyer, and show that you're capable of doing something, I'm pretty confident that those lawyers would not notice you. They would definitely offer you an articling position if that's where you're stuck with in your licensing process. It's just about finding that one person. Like I said, it's that one person.
Yeah, a lot of students come up and they are hesitant to take administrative jobs in law firms, such as paralegal jobs and legal assistant jobs. So what is your take on it? Like, whether one should
That's a great question. I would have killed to join as a legal assistant in a law firm when I landed. Like when I was looking for my first job, I would have. I in fact spoke to a bunch of lawyers, threw myself out there, and I said I can work for you for free for like a couple of weeks, just see how I work. That's how I started my legal work back in India as well. Like in my fourth year of law school, I went to a lawyer and I was like, I'll work for free. Just teach me how to manage files, teach me how to read the law. And I didn't even ask for a salary, and within a month's time, the lawyer was happy that I'm doing work because he is someone who does not want to get work for free. So he started giving me a minimum salary because I was an intern, and that helped me, right, with my pocket money at least. So I feel like you should just be willing to start from wherever you are. Like just think of yourself as a brand new person
Yeah.
and start somewhere.
How important it is to network, and how many actually coffee chats have you been to, and how many have you been approached for. And yeah, like, and how like a person can network during the pandemic, like when they are not able to like go out and ask for coffee. Instead, probably like a Zoom chat. Does it work, or have you tried that kind of a platform? Like what?
It works. Coffee chats, networking events really works uh, because they remember you. Anybody that you meet definitely remembers you. And I'm continuing to talk to some of the lawyers that I spoke to before my licensing process, and I keep in touch with them. It's sort of like a friendly hi, and saying that I want to understand your world so I can change my world, kind of a request, right? Because uh, the truth is, we don't know. When we land here, we don't know how it is for a lawyer in Canada or in Ontario for that matter. And we need to understand it from the lens of the other person who is in the community. Uh, Again, nobody says no unless you are like just saying, I need a job. Can you give me a job? You're sure not to get a response sometimes. I don't believe in cold job requests. I believe in coffee chats. I'm more than happy if someone messages me. I will try to the best of my ability to respond, unless like I'm swamped for that day. But I've been responding to a lot of messages, and people don't ask for coffee chats. Sometimes they just say that I want to connect with you, I want to be part of your network, and I'm happy to connect with those people. But you have to move one step forward and say that I want to talk to you, I want to hear you out. And I think some of the efforts like ITL Voices will definitely help people understand, because this is what I will share with anybody, right, who's reaching out to me and asking for some tips. These are my tips, and I'm happy to share it. I also feel like people should do their groundwork before they ask questions. You cannot go to a lawyer and say, what should I do for my licensing process? You should know what you should do for your licensing process. But you can definitely ask them how to approach a particular problem. How, if you're stuck, what should you do next? If you need an articling position, how do I write my resume? These are things that you can like ask pointed specific questions that is going to help the other person answer you better. And that's the whole point of a coffee chat, right? You can't just say, I want to talk to you,
Yeah,
and they'll be lost. Honestly, they won't know what to talk to you because they don't know you. So you can sort of give a background. You can tell them that this is where I am, this is what is my specific question, how can you help me?
I totally agree with
Yeah.
you. I myself actually have done a lot of coffee sessions and also virtual coffee sessions. So I just feel like talking about the lawyer and their experiences actually
Mhm.
helps you learn and just peek into their environment, and probably you might gain 10 other things from that particular coffee chats, even if you don't get a job offer there. And you should
Yeah.
never go on a coffee chat with an expectation of that sort, but yeah, you do network because of the sole purpose that you want a job at the end of the day.
Of course,
But
I mean, 2 months down the lane, if there is a legal assistant position and someone you spoke to 2 months ago just thinks of you, that's all you need,
yeah,
right? So I feel like That's what you should establish. That's the groundwork that you have to do. And I have heard like different opinions about coffee chats. I've heard like, why should we even go and talk to someone? I have so much of experience back home. Why am I doing all of this? It's a mindset. I'm not, honestly, with all due respect for all the experience that everybody has, I don't want to discount any of that experience, but I also want to stay grounded. I also want to just see what I learn every single day. And that's my starting point whenever I have a conversation with anyone, like what I can learn from the other person.
My last question to you is, how did you join and became a part of ITL Networks, our association? So yeah, and how has your
So
experience been so far with ITL Network?
my experience has been wonderful. I think the ITL network is doing a great job. They have different initiatives, or rather, we have different initiatives. I think we're doing a great job
Yeah.
as a network, as an organization. How I joined is just how I wanted to share my story, and that's how I stumbled upon Kelly, who's the past president of ITL Network, and the rest is history. I love working with the folks at ITL Network because I see true passion. I see I see true need to bring as much information as possible to the ITLs in Canada, and I see there's a lot of drive, and that inspires me day in and day out.
Thank you so much, Anjana. It was lovely speaking to you.